Growing up, one of my favorite portions of scriptures was the Beatitudes. Blessings. Who does not like blessings? I know, I definitely do. In Matthew's Gospel, chapter 5, verse 3 to 11, Jesus talks about the Beatitudes. So today with the gang, Friar Jay and Chim, we are here to talk about Beatitudes.
Welcome to your #1 Catholic youth show on TV, Catholic Faith Forum, where we discuss matters bordering on faith, popular culture, and morality. Like May said, today we'll be dissecting the issue of the Beatitudes. Yes. So stick with us. When we come back, we'll move straight into the topic. Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Catholic Faith Forum, where we're discussing Beatitudes, and I'm with May and Chima.
Yes, so what really are these Beatitudes? Let's dive into the meat of this gist. Okay. I know the first one, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. So what does it mean to be poor in spirit?
I'll take the word beatitude first. It's from the Latin beatitudo, which means blessedness or happiness. So it's the life of grace. Okay. Blessings means you are sharing in God's life of grace. So when Jesus says you are blessed, he's referring to the fact that we as children of God are heirs to his kingdom and we share in his blessing.
Okay, so I always just say be attitudes, like attitudes you should have, how you should be.
In a stylish way, it seems to go in line with what it is, but ordinarily it means happiness, blessedness, the kind of life that a Christian should live. Yes, exactly.
Nice. Okay, so back to the first one.
The very first one, poor in spirit, basically means our hunger for God. We should hunger for God. We should hunger for the life of God, which is holiness. Okay, so to be poor in spirit means to know that I need to be better. I need to grow in my spiritual life. So one has to be aware of the fact that they need God's grace every day. You know that song, I need thee every hour.
Yes.
So one needs to be aware of that and then take steps every single day to build one's spiritual life through prayer, through other works of charity.
What about those that mistake physical poverty for spiritual poverty?
I think poverty, in order to have a holistic view of it, one has to know that poverty involves the spiritual, the material, the intellectual, because there are a lot of people who do not know anything, but they don't even know that they don't know, and that's even a bigger problem. And then there is also emotional poverty. So one has to look at it as a holistic thing and say, where am I lacking? Where am I not meeting up? And I think to be aware that you are poor on all these grounds means that you create a room to learn more.
But isn't there like a problem? Because sometimes people see this poverty of a thing and then because of that, they sort of have esteem issues and then they still envelope it under the umbrella of being poor in spirit. They don't want to show themselves and all of that. So the problem is sort of there.
I think if a person is open to learn, if a person is open to discussion, dialogue, you could ask and say, am I confusing humility for poverty, or am I confusing poverty of character for humility? Okay? So if a person is able to say, I need to also open up to say, I don't like being in the crowd. Is it about being humble or being poorly character? Exactly. So one has to, I think it's honesty to self. That can expose you to knowing what to do.
So basically, poverty in spirit also has to deal with honesty and a God-given humility, not just having, not just.
I don't want to talk. Exactly.
To.
So one has to be open to it. Being humble actually is a conscious thing. It's not something that you do just by, this is how I am.
Okay.
It's a conscious thing. Because there are the people who are popular who could also be humble. And there are people who are popular who could also be proud. And there are people who are not so popular, but they want you to, every time, wherever they enter into, they want you to recognize them. See me, I'm here. So,
I've arrived.
Exactly. So poverty in spirit, poverty in fact, poverty in emotions, poverty in intellectual endowment, all comes down to honesty to self and knowing that you can always be better than where you are.
Okay,
so blessed is such a person who knows that they can still be better.
Okay, the second one is blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
Yeah, of course. You are smiling.
Nobody likes mourning, really. So that particular beatitude is sort of problematic in itself because blessed are those who mourn. Is God trying to say, is Jesus trying to say that you should be in a constant state of mourning for you to be able to find comfort.
And I think technically there are always good times and there are always bad times in the life of every individual.
Person,
So there's no way in your whole life you won't have sad times. So just God is reminding us that in those sad times, be comforted because you are blessed.
I think there's a passage in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 where Jesus was referring to those who have died and the fact that we shouldn't mourn them as if we have no hope in the resurrection.
Yeah.
So so long as we're in this world, this is not our home. We must always bear in mind that there is a greater life, a better life ahead of us. And so we should live in the hope of a better future, of the resurrection. Okay, so yes, you miss this person, you go through misfortune, but that should not be the end. I think I saw a movie some time ago where somebody said, if it is bad, it is not the end. If it's then the idea that we, so long as we are still living, there is always room for something good, something better to happen. So one has to keep an open mind and not feel downcast because something bad has happened.
Wonderful. Another thing that I would like to add to this particular discourse is that in a way, people are afraid of mourning, like I said earlier, but I have come to realize that sometimes that strengthens you for the journey of life itself.
Exactly.
The more struggles you're able to face and overcome, the stronger you are as a person and as a Christian, especially if you have God on your side.
If you even look at it, people who have been through a lot of emotional things, people who have been through very hard times, are the most compassionate.
Yes, they are.
They have built emotional muscles, you want to say, to be able to weather any storm. And then when you see them, they're always wearing a smile because they have been through worse situations. They've seen a lot of things. I remember a scenario that was painted once for me about a young boy who was in a school, and he had lost all both his parents and his siblings in a war. And then he was in this school, and the principal called him one time. I was said, "Do you want to leave this place? Do you want to?" And he said, "I'm not afraid of leaving this place. I've lost practically everything that I can. There's nothing that you can tell me that will scare me."
Wow.
And the principal was mortified, and he said, "Don't worry, just go." So he realized that the young man has seen more than he can ever
seen everything.
so sometimes too, a blessing can be embedded under something that looks like a curse.
Okay, so though the sorrow may last through the night, joy
comes in the morning. Exactly.
Okay, so the next one is blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
The meek. You people have a slogan here in Lagos that is very, very funny. They said if you look with your face, you carry last. So that whole idea of people always think that they have to accept themselves, they have to break through oppositions.
But this is Lagos.
In order to become something.
You have to have some grabby.
It doesn't. But the truth is, everything is not about struggle. Life is not all struggle. And many times too, if you make everything a competition, at the end of the day, you lose a lot of friends. You lose a lot of people who would otherwise see you and say, "Oh, I like this person is different." If you just follow the whole bandwagon of noisemakers and people who are running around, at the end of the day, you're not even able to stop and think and reflect about what you are doing. So I think gentleness has a very, very important place in life, generally, and also in attitude, because you stand out when people see you as different. I remember once, I think I was in a car and there was a hold-up, and I had to stop for people to pass. And I think I saw the surprise in their face. In this Lagos, somebody stopped for you to cross the road. So, but that's a sign. You've made that person have a rethink about life. That life is not just that hurry, everybody trying to get their way. So really, it's a blessing when people can stop and do things for other people, look at other people, smile at another person, give another person some helpful nudge that will help them to see that, life is not all.
How can one actually be meek and be assertive, using Lagos as a case study? Because if you are gentle in this world, basically everybody wants to walk all over you. So practicality now, bringing it to practical terms, daily life. How can one be meek and still be assertive and then let people know that
don't let people take it for granted?
Look at my face.
I think the thing is knowing who you are, okay, having set values and knowing those values very well. I am a gentle person. I am not a talkative. I am not physical, but I am not a pushover. Okay, so you're able to use your knowledge in order to let the other person know that, hey, I may seem gentle, but it doesn't mean that I'm a pushover. Okay, I know my rights. I know what I stand for. I think one of the...
Did you say I may seem or I am gentle?
No, I think there's a thing about how people are perceived. Okay. Is what you said about gentleness meaning being a pushover. Okay, I may seem to be that way, but that is not what I am. Okay, I think one of the shocking, most dramatic experiences I've ever had is being as a priest, being in mufti, maybe in a car, and then some traffic person just stops. Hey, stop your car! Stop the car! And they expect you to flare up because you know that you've not done anything. You've not violated any traffic rules, and you just come out of the car calmly, smile at the person, and you say, "Hello, officer. Good morning." And the person looks at you and says, "Yes, sir. Got it. Good morning, sir. Sorry, sir." So I think that alone tells the person that you're not like them.
So go above the norm.
Exactly. So you go above the regular reaction that people expect. The worst thing the person can do is to say, "Okay, sir, you know you did this, but because you're a gentleman,
everything will be calm.
Everything is now calm because you have learned to, you have doused the
just like say when someone is shouting at you and and just talking calmly. After a while, the person will realize that
this person is not like.
They'll have to calm down.
Exactly. So I realize that when you raise the bar of expectation, people now learn to rise to that level too. And the Christian should be the pace setter.
Yes.
Whenever you go to, as a Catholic, as a Christian, people expect more from you.
True.
Whether you realize it or not, people expect more from you. Oh, you're a Catholic. Okay, oh, that's good. I know Catholics and I know they're responsible people. People always say that. So I think Christ is keying into that and telling us that you would always be put on the spot. Yeah. So you always have to be on your toes. You have to be ready for whatever comes.
Okay, the next one is, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Okay, yes, being hungry, desiring something to be done. It's not necessarily food hunger, but the idea of wanting to see something done properly. Okay, we all should desire to see righteousness. We all should desire to see things done, not just by ourselves, but other people doing what they ought to do. If the politician is a good politician, if the father is a good father, if mother is a good mother, children are good children, students keep to rules and regulations set by school authorities, children at home learn to obey their parents and do what they're supposed to do, the whole world will be a very just
good
learn to
do.
do
Basically a home monitor.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But one has to be. You know, when it's like somebody walks into a room and then things are disordered. Things are not going the way they should. Things are not the way they should be. If you are really sensitive to that, you want to arrange. You want to make sure that things are arranged properly. Right. And that is a hunger. That's a hunger for things to be in order. Okay, righteousness is actually orderliness. Okay, spiritual orderliness. So one has to desire that things be done well, and one should also be willing to be an agent to bring about that kind of order in society, starting from where you are, starting from your home, starting from your immediate environment, and extending further. So
making an effort to make sure everything is done the right way, done the way it should be, and putting everything in place. That's interesting.
I think one of my goals, one of my mottos is excellence. Be excellent in everything. Be excellent at what is good, not just anything, but what is good. I think it's Romans 15 verse 19. Be excellent at what is good, be innocent of evil. Okay, one has to understand that and be able to live a life where you try to make peace reign, make justice reign, make righteousness.
Okay, I'm really enjoying this conversation, but we have to take a break here and hear what our people on the streets have to say about the Beatitudes. Do they know what the Beatitudes are? Okay, so don't go anywhere and see these interesting opinions of people from the streets. We'll be right back.
Where can I find the blessings of the Beatitudes in the Bible?
You can find the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5. Then verse 8 specifically says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.
Is there another one you know?
Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy.
Okay, all right, thank you. Where can I find the Beatitudes in the Bible?
In Matthew chapter 5 verse 1 down.
Can you say anyone for me?
Of course I can. Matthew chapter 5 verse 1, it says, and he went into the mountain, and when he sat down, the disciple came to him, and he began to open his mouth, saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are those who hungry and thirsty, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the righteousness' sake, for the kingdom of God is theirs.
Welcome back to the show. It still remains Catholic Faith Forum, and we're discussing the Beatitudes, the wonderful people on the streets who recited the Beatitudes. I really love that. I really love the fact that people are knowledgeable about what Jesus taught us. Yeah.
It was actually very nice to see that people could actually recite the Beatitudes, which is interesting. So let's dive in. Let's continue our conversation. Yeah. Okay, the next one is, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy.
I think it's a very important beatitude to consider, especially in a time when people find it hard to forgive. That some will tell you, I can forgive, but I'll never forget. But the truth is, you cannot be merciful if you do not have the intention of letting go of the memory, letting go of the hurt, letting go of how that person's attitude towards you has hurt you or made you feel bad. And it's a Christian thing to be able to say, yes, I let this person go because I know that I've also hurt other people. The Lord's Prayer, which came up in the next chapter after chapter 5 of Matthew's Gospel, Jesus now tells us, if you cannot forgive somebody who has hurt you, neither will your Heavenly Father forgive you your own sins. So mercy, showing mercy to other people should be a stable way of behaving, of saying, I am a sinner, I know what it means to have offended God, to have offended other people, and I would want to be shown mercy as well. I would want other people to show me mercy and to live a life, to also be able to know that I'm a perfect person and I can be better.
But mercy is not only about forgiveness, is it?
Well, it is largely about compassion. It's compassion, really. And compassion means to feel what the other person is feeling.
Yes.
Passionate,
empathy.
to suffer
Being
with another person.
Being kind towards the other person.
Exactly. To understand with the other person and know that it could be me. I could put myself in the other person's shoe. I could be the one offended. I could be the one in the
Yes, because
in
nobody's above mistakes.
Exactly.
But the world has been living by the once bitten, twice shy mantra for in fact, since I was born, basically, I've been hearing the once bitten, twice shy thing. That's like saying, okay, if something happens to you once, or you find yourself in a situation where you are not comfortable once, then you should always find a way to avoid it. People have actually taken that at the same time to mean interactions with people and interactions with their surroundings. When they are offended by something or some things or some people, they just cut off from those people, and somehow some people feel that they are happier for it.
Really, it's an instinctive thing. It's an instinctive thing to not want to be hurt. It's like the first time you were burnt by fire. Yeah. Okay, you
exactly.
knew in a hard way.
Never
you
again.
In a hard way that you don't want to suffer that kind of
Some people
hurt.
are fired themselves.
But the truth is, we always want to run away from anything that smells of danger.
Yeah.
That is natural. But the Christian thing is to understand that people are not to be treated as bad in themselves. People are supposed to be looked upon as good in themselves, and that there's a drop of goodness in everybody. So to just cut off people, you end up cutting off everyone. And you find people who even say, I cannot even stand myself and I want to take my life. That is in extreme situations.
Wow.
So one has to be conscious of the fact that you don't just cut people off. You may keep your distance. There's that safe distance. Because if you look at it, you're not close to everybody in the same way. There's some people you are very intimate to. There are some people who are just, hey, hi, how are you? There are some people who are just buddies when you meet in church or in school or places where you hang out.
Afterwards, nothing.
But other than that, you don't cut them off because they do something bad or because they have offended you in one way. Because people will always offend you. People will always step on your toe. But you have to be able to catch yourself in the track and say, I don't want to cut people off. I want to try the best I can to give people the room to make mistakes. There's always something called giving people the benefit of the doubt. And we should always learn to give each other the benefit of the doubt. It will come back to you. That's the truth. What goes around, they say, comes
back around. Okay, the next one is, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.
Purity in heart is a very important virtue, especially in a day and time when our speech, our thoughts, the things we watch in the name of media, the kind of books we read, gives us a lot of ideas that are non-Christian, that do not even promote purity of thought, that are suggestive. You hear of suggestive language. There's so much suggestive language. We even sometimes we catch ourselves falling into those
without even knowing it.
Yeah, you hear people saying it's just a slang. But it's a wrong slang. It's something that is suggestive of sin, and we should not admit of it. So one has to be conscious of it and try not to become sunk in, because it's now the normal thing.
But what are some of these things you can do to actually be pure in heart?
One thing is try as much as possible not to share or not to even expose yourself to media that seems to be suggestive. I see a lot of things and they shock me, but I realize that people who even post them have become so numb to them that they just think it's just funny. It's funny, but it's not pure. It doesn't promote purity in thought. Before long, you find yourself even practicing it. That's the danger. And you see that in a lot of our media, whether it's violent media, videos that show violence or that show vulgarity. I always say that a thing is immoral if it is vulgar and if it is violent. Okay? It's no longer humor. It's no longer something to consider wholesome when it is vulgar and violent. So always, those two markers are things that we should always be mindful of.
Don't people stand the risk of being termed uptight anytime they choose not to indulge in some certain
the truth
things?
is that the Christian is always an outsider. The Christian is always an anomaly. The Christian is always considered to be weird or queer. But the truth is, if it is right, it is right. If it is wrong, it is wrong.
Queer has become another thing entirely.
Exactly.
Don't be scared to stand out.
Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to be different. That's something we should always tell people and tell ourselves too. And it's good that people know that they are not alone. You are not alone when you stand for values that are wholesome. You're not alone. If you look around, you'll see that there are other people like yourself who are trying to live very good and wholesome life. Like
what you said about the social media thing, I always tell people, whatever you post, does it reflect who you are as a person, what you stand for? Don't just post something because everybody is posting it.
It does, actually. Even in your jokes, it does. Because there are some people whose online reputations really have been ruined by just one joke.
Exactly.
It's something as flimsy as a joke. Maybe they saw it and then they found it funny and then they posted it, and all of a sudden, boom, their online reputation is gone, blown to smithereens. So,
I think even more, we should be more concerned about how our actions affect our relationship with God. I think it was on this show some time ago, a guest said, whatever you wish to do, whatever you wish to say, ask yourself, will this thing give glory to God?
Yes.
Once you realize that, yes, it gives glory to God, then do it. If you realize that it won't give glory to God, then don't do it. I think it's as simple as that. We should be more concerned about how God perceives us than how people perceive us.
Okay, so the next one is, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God.
Yes. I think it's important that people we learn to be peacemakers, to be people who want everyone to be at home, everybody to understand each other despite our differences. Because there are always things that divide us. There are always things that we have places where we don't share common views.
The same ideas,
but we don't have to be the same in order to accept each other. We can accept each other, even our differences. We can accept our differences. And the truth is, it's interesting that while we talk about differences, people who are alike never really come together. It's people who are often dissimilar, who now see themselves as complementary. Yep. Okay, she is loud, I am quiet. I am fair, she is dark. So such things they are
to complement
exactly,
and balance.
in order to complement. So the things that make us different are the things that should actually complement us. So that's where peace comes in.
But in practicality, the danger of that is actually eye service. When you are being accused of being an Ujuaye, you understand. When people see you and then you are a person of, you are a good-natured person, you want everywhere to be at peace, you try to make everyone everywhere feel like home.
Yes.
And then people start saying, what's your problem, Seth? You are too eye service, whatever, and all of that.
No, of course, there should be a distinction between being a yes person and being an understanding person. So an understanding person can tell you to your face that you are wrong, but he will first of all point to you where you have gotten it right. Oh, you got this right, but... Okay? And the other extreme is to just be a negative no person. No, you have not gotten it right. It's not right. You are not doing it right. Which is just negativity all over and over again. So a peacemaker is somebody who is able to tell what is right and what is wrong, be able to point out what is right, and be able to point out what is wrong.
And the eye service thing you talked about, don't do things because someone is watching you. Do it because you really want to do it. It's coming from within. Don't just do it because you want people to think that you are...
I'm a good person. They say keep up appearances.
Yes.
No, that's not it. Don't keep up appearances. You should be the same person both in private and in public. Be the same person. be real. We always talk about being real. Being real means that you put up a good nature wherever you find yourself.
Yep.
Learn to be the best version of yourself wherever you find yourself, because you don't know who's watching. And even when no one is watching, God is watching you.
Always.
God is always watching.
Always.
He's not watching you like Big Brother, but he's watching you. But he's watching you because he's your creator and he loves you.
Yes.
Okay? He always has an eye out for you.
Okay, so the last one is, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Those who are, of course, I think Chima mentioned something about people being afraid of wanting to be labeled as
uptight and all of that.
The truth is, there will always be people who have a problem with how you live out your life or what you do. But you have to realize that is it. Whatever you do, people will always speak. People will have something to say about your opinion. Oh, father, oh, brother, oh, sister, you're acting like a reverend sister.
Automatically, you
Exactly.
become
Mary
pastor
Amaka.
to
Exactly.
some people. You
Exactly.
become father to some people.
And it's interesting, before I became a priest, people started calling me father, is the father of our class. I went to a secular school, but then because I was publicly Catholic, I wasn't afraid to wear my scapular or read my Bible or hold prayer books or read Life of the Saints in class during break time. People called me father. But for me, it didn't bother me. I just realized that you have to be known for something. And it's interesting that once there was a case involving students who fought in the school outside of school hours, and somebody said I was part of them. And the principal just said, it's a lie. It's not possible. It can't happen. And of course, that was true. The person was saying he was going to get me into problem because I was trying to arbitrate between both parties. So it just tells you that whatever, if you're real, if you are authentic, people definitely will know you and reckon with you as an authentic person.
And then eventually, the biggest reckoning of all, the most valid reckoning of all, that of God.
Exactly. God affirms you and calls you his own. Blessed are you if you're a peacemaker. You are the child of God.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And a lot of people assume that this persecution, you're only talking about people that were killed in the Bible and all those that were... people actually, Christians are actually persecuted today.
There are subtle persecutions. Yeah, we cannot rule out the fact of violence towards Christians. Those are prominent, especially in the northern part of our country.
At the moment,
and the middle belt. But then there are more subtle persecutions where people feel that they cannot express their Christian faith because they are often placed under the microscope.
Or making the sign of the cross. And then
That's
you are looking at
most
who is looking at me.
Somehow, really.
People get uptight when they feel like, oh, people are looking at me, or they'll call me names. But the interesting thing, I grew up in northern Nigeria, and as soon as you get into a car, a Muslim enters into the car, you will say something in Arabic to show that he is covering himself in prayer before entering. But we Catholics want to sneak and make a funny sign on the cross. So I think it's not right. We should be true. We should be true to our identity.
To our faith,
true to your identity as a Catholic.
Yes. And I also wanted to mention something. People feel like they should do things for God. You're not doing this for God.
You're not doing anything for God.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Exactly. God does things for us instead.
Yes.
God loved us. 1 John chapter 4, verse 19 tells us that it is not our love for God, but that God first loved us. So our loving God is our returning of his favor. Of saying, we are grateful for your love for us. We are grateful that you love us. And we want to show you love by our attitude, by the way we live our life. And Jesus mentioned it in John chapter 13, verse 34, that they will know you as a Christian by your love.
A lot of people often feel like worship of God is transactional. It is never transactional.
No.
You're not doing something for God so that God will do something for you. I know a lot of people feel that these days. Say, okay, I gave money in church today, so I'm expecting 2 times that amount.
And I think some people mislead other people. Some so-called pastors or preachers mislead other people by telling them, oh, if you give God this, God will do this for you. God gives you everything, whether you're good or bad, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are in his favor or not in his favor. God allows the rain and his sun to shine on the good and the evil alike.
Okay, so there you have it on the Beatitudes. So next time you read the Beatitudes or hear about them, think about the fact that God loves us. He said, blessed are you. He didn't say he's going to bless you. He didn't say he's going to bless you. He has already blessed you.
Yes,
so do the things you need to do and live your life for God. Thank you for staying with us today. Friar Jay, any last words?
Be true to yourself. Be a child of God wherever you are, whether in public or in private, and God will continue to bless you.
Okay, Chim.
You are not in a business relationship with God. That's the only thing I want to say. For those of you who believe that your acts of Christianity, your acts of goodwill are because you are expecting a blessing from God, please stop thinking that way.
Okay, so thank you for spending time with us today. For details, more information, or any interesting content, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dominican Media Presents. And for questions, inquiries, suggestions, follow our social media platforms at CFFONTV, and we'll respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you for spending time with us today. Till next time, keep being saints in jeans and shirts.